Warm welcome to Energy On, the channel where everything revolves around your life energy. My name is Cornelia Kavan, and I'm so happy that you're joining me in my world of energy. And today I'm not alone. I have a special guest, the wonderful Josefine Wanner. And welcome, Josephine.
Thank you, Cornelia. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. And we met at the course we did together. And I was so fascinated by Josephine's story. And it made me really think a lot about my development, my current life. And that's why I invited you for this, to Energy On. And I would like to kick off with my first question. I'm quite sure you spoke many times about it, but it's such a fascinating story because something happened in your life and you just changed your life from one day to the next. And could you take us in this moment? What happened? What made you change?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And maybe to be able to understand it a little bit, I will take you back many, many years back. Because for many years, since I was 14, I wanted to write, and I read like all the time. I mean, of course I had friends and I played with my friends, but if I could have a book and if I could dive into to the character's world, I was the happiest person. But then, I turned 14 and my parents got a divorce, and my grandma said something then to me. She said, now you need to take care of mom. And it wasn't that my mother needed taking care of, absolutely not. She's like the strongest person there is in the world. But that comment kind of like set the tone for, okay, so I need to be the good girl. I need to make my mom proud. It was not just that event, but that is something that kind of like really, really stayed with me. And now that I'm looking back, of the different choices I've made, I see that many choices have been so that I can make my mother proud of me. And fast forward, I finished school and I started as an accountant. Also, same line of profession that my mom had done, or my mom was doing. And, already then I was 19, 20 something, you already then come into this hamster wheel where you need to pay your bills and you have these expectations and you want to travel and stuff and you need the money. And after some years with this very small company, we were 20 employees. I was the only woman in this company. I realized then that even though I'm from Sweden and this was in Sweden, I was the only woman in a company and I earned way less than everyone else. So for me, it was, okay, so what can I do to get myself up there, to make myself heard? I decided to study. And even then, 24 at the time, 23 something, I didn't ask myself, so Josefine, what do you really want to do? No, I continued in the same path. Because even though a master's studies is really challenging and really kind of like, it's hard work, it's still kind of the known area, and you will have like a good profession afterwards. So even then, at a very young age, I didn't ask myself, what is it that I want to do? What would I love to do? So I finished the master's studies. I had one exchange year as a student in Switzerland. I wanted to learn German properly. I didn't know at the time that Swiss German was such a really, really strange accent. I had no clue. I mean, at the time, we didn't have any smartphones or anything. So it was like, of course we traveled, but it was still very, close, not as it is today. And when I was in Switzerland, I got to know my husband, and, it continues. So where do we want to live? What do I want to do? Started working for one of the big 4 companies here in Switzerland. And when you come as a student, it's like really, you get to learn so much, and it was really challenging. So it was quite good. And then I kind of continued to develop, but always within the financial services industry, always, starting to climbing the ladder. And I remember when I attended kind of like a leadership training for talents, and there was one of the course trainers, they said, and that kind of stayed with me. They said, remember to always be true to yourself. And I was like, okay, I need to be true to myself. I need to be true to myself. And it was kind of like a little bit of a mantra. But that doesn't help if you're not honest with yourself. So for me, it was like trying to stay true to myself. But since I wasn't honest to myself, I didn't really listen to that voice who was kind of continued nagging. And so after many years, I landed in one of the Switzerland's largest banks. I had been there for 10 years. I had done like several different really exciting positions, challenging positions in various senior management roles. And this voice became a little bit louder and louder. And I started to explore a little bit what it is that I want to do. And I went to a writer's course, and that kind of like started to open it up a little bit, like bit by bit. But it was still, no, I can't really do something. What if I fail? What if that doesn't work out? So I stayed, and I was like, okay, just another half year, just another year, just another, I need, let's save some money. Let's, so that I can take this new not opportunity, because I didn't know what it was that I wanted. And then one day in August 2019, we learned that my father had incurable cancer. And that was my wake-up call, because I was like, what the heck am I doing? I'm going to a work who has nothing to do with my passions, has nothing to do with what it is that I really want to do. I have stomachache every morning that I open up my laptop, because you didn't know what types of emails you would have in your inbox. So 4 weeks after this, we learned of my father's disease. I quit my job. I resigned. I didn't have a plan B. I just knew that if I don't do this now, it might be too late. I might become seriously ill. And my father, when we learned that he had this serious disease, my Google research said that he would have 3 more months to live. He didn't get those 3 months. He got 6 weeks. And that can happen to all of us. And that is why it's so important to stop and listen to what it is that you want to do, to not waste your life. That I'm not saying that I wasted my life, half of my life already, because I'm using the backpack and the knowledge that I've obtained. But there are so many other things out there that we can do. So that is kind of like where you and I met, actually, when I was in this path to further discover what it is that I can do and that I want to do.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, I was so touched by this story. And as you said, I also asked the question to myself, do I really do what I want to do? And do I follow my dreams? And some things, I'm also starting with small steps. But for me, the biggest question is now, I can imagine that many people feel they're not doing or not following their dreams, but I assume many don't know what their dreams are. So what were your steps? You said you didn't have a plan B, but how did you get started? How did you figure out what you really want to know, what your heart is burning for? Did you have a process or something like this?
I didn't at the time. I do now, of course, because this is something that I offer to my own clients. But no, I didn't, because I was, at the same time that I had all of a sudden, I had all of these different opportunities, everything I wanted to do just popped up. And at the same time, I doubted whether I would even be able to pull it through. I mean, of course, I've been like a, very, I'm quite target oriented and goal oriented and that, but that was, in the business life, all of a sudden the whole world opened up and I had no clue, where do I even start? And as you said, that was also one thing. I didn't even know what brings me joy, because if you've been like a mother and in your job for like 10, 15, 20 years, you haven't put yourself on the first spot for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So that is a very, very simple exercise that I do with my clients, and I call it the Fun-tastic list. And it's just like you take a piece of paper and you put down 10 things on that list, 10 things that you always wanted to do or always wanted to experience, or maybe a couple of goals. And it can be like big things and there can be like small things. And on my list, I had, for example, our own summer house in Sweden, but I also had smaller things like singing in a choir, because that is one of those things that I had wanted to do for many years. People had told me, oh, you sing so well. And I always wanted to, oh, I would love to sing in a choir, but I never did it. And then when I had my list in front of me and I was like, okay, singing in a choir, how hard can it be? So when you have your list of 10 things that you would love to do, and I mean, it can be if you want to do paragliding, or if you want to do, I don't know, roller skating or whatever it is that you always want to do. And a little bit, if it's scary, you need to put it on your list, right? But so singing in a choir, it's not so scary. It's not going to kill me if I do that. So I checked it up and I registered to go and start in a beginner's course for choir singing. And I went there and I saw that, well, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be, which is also quite good, because then I could scratch it off my list. And I was like, okay, so I've done that. And then I replaced it with something else. And now when I look back, so I did my list in October 2019. Now when I look back at my list, I have made all of these come true, or they are in the process of coming true. Because when you put something down in writing and you have it in front of you, I have it on my desk, not on this desk, but I have my list in front of me on my desk. Because then you have it in front of you and you can focus on that, and it becomes a little bit more like a part of you, instead of just being something that you might have in your head someday that you would love to do it sometime. So that is kind of like the first step to kick off what it is that you would love to do. And then other things, when you start being open to change, new things open up. You mean, you and I wouldn't have met if I wouldn't have started this course, where I took the decision in December 2020, must have been, right? Yeah. That, oh, I need to do this course. So that kind of also opened up new paths and new opportunities for us.
Okay. I think this suggestion with the list is, yeah, it's very good. Yeah. Because as you said, if you write it down, then you can look at it and there is a different focus also on it. And it's not like just being nebulous in your head. And I started off with a mood board, or not a mood board, it's more a vision board, where I put all my dreams on it. And as you said, some of them, they really came true. And then you can put another one on top of it. Yeah. And as you also say, some things, they sound great, and but then once you try them, you just figure out, no, I don't want to do it. Yeah. And I think that's very helpful. Yeah. And so you started off with this list for yourself. So did you have to move on? Did you have any support? And how did your family react on your decision? Because it's also a huge change for your family.
Yeah, so my husband couldn't say anything because he actually quit his job in 2018 already, which it was also to kind of pursue his dream of becoming an entrepreneur. And so we had already gone through that process of someone taking that big, hairy, scary leap to actually do something. Yeah, so he couldn't really say something. And my mom, I didn't tell her actually that I had quit my job until after my father passed away. And her response was like, yeah, you need to manage it on your own, which I had done since I was, a teenager. So, and that is quite an important thing to remember. So if you want to have feedback, or if you want, no, let me put it like this. If you want to have some people's, like they confirm your step, that is a good step, if that is important to you, you need to involve them in the whole process. Because for my mother, for example, she didn't know what was happening in the background, how I felt that I had 2 blackouts, for example. She didn't know about this corporate environment that I was in. to her, it just seemed like a very, high status, high earning position, like she knew that I worked a lot, but I mean, that was all that she saw. We didn't discuss that. If I would have needed her approval to quit my job, it would have been smarter of me to involve her kind of like in the process. But you don't need to have the approval of other people, because they will also kind of give you their opinion of what they think of your decision or whatever step or whatever it is that you want to do, based on their own experiences and based on their own fears.
Exactly.
So that is why, exactly. So if you need someone else's opinion or like approval, involve them. If you need feedback from someone, don't just ask someone who has no clue what they're talking about. Ask someone who has done it before you. Ask someone who's kind of like 2 steps ahead of you to say, okay, how did you do this? How did you manage to overcome this? That is the feedback that you need.
Yeah, I see exactly. Somebody who is in a way already showed you that it's possible, and can really give you some tips and also feedback on, you don't need to make all mistakes others already did. You're gonna do your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
But you can learn from others. And I think that's very helpful. Okay, and your kids?
Oh, my youngest son, he's 8. He got really angry. He was like, oh, Mom, so now you're not a boss at the bank anymore. Not that I used to brag about being a boss at the bank, but that was very important to him. My oldest son, he's 14, and he just said the other day that he's so proud that both of his parents are entrepreneurs. And for me, that is also one thing that is really, really important, that I show my children that you can be whatever you want to be. You don't need to, just because, and we have hired an external coach for our oldest son now that he is kind of like in the process of, here in Switzerland, you choose very early on in which direction you want to go. So we said, we don't want to be the ones who just influence him like our parents had influenced us. So we have hired an external coach, so that he can talk to someone about what it is that he wants to do. Yeah. Wow. But he's really proud. Yeah.
That's very interesting, because that's what I also see with my girls. They're about the same age. That you're a role model, and in a way they even if you don't want to, you're just there, and they're on one side they're copying how you're living your life, and of course they also wanna the same situation, even if you don't want to do it, that you're influencing them, and they also want to satisfy your thoughts, or what they think what you want them to do. So I found it wow, that's very interesting that you even hired a coach for him. And I think this role model is very important, that you show them, as you said, that they can do whatever they want. And there is always a way to do it if you really follow your heart. Wow, that's such
absolutely. And you need to believe it yourself, and you need to believe that you can do this, because if you don't believe it, then no one else will believe it for you. And luckily, this whole confidence thing is not a thing that either you have it or you don't. You can train it. And if you have someone that you can train it with, or even, I think, listen to your energy boost. It's like, oh my God, this gives me so much energy, and now I want to try out this. Or like listening to all of your different guests that you're having on this show. I mean, that is kind of like be inspired by other people and listening to other people and realizing that if they can do it, then I can do it. And that is like a huge boost for your self-confidence.
Frankly spoken, from all these interviews, I guess myself, I'm learning the most out of it, because it inspires me so, and as you said, it gives me so much energy, and it keeps me moving, in a way. And there are so many different ways you can lead your life, and everybody has something to give. And so if you share this, we all can, improve and learn from each other. And for me, it's always together you can reach so much more than compared to being alone. Yeah, that's one of my credos. Yeah. And you said at the beginning, you started with this list. I'm coming back to this list. And for me, it's how have you changed in between? Yeah, your mindset. Yeah, because I can imagine at the beginning it's limited, or not limited, but we all have our beliefs that are limiting ourselves because we went in a certain direction. And how did you break up this mindset to broaden it, or let go these beliefs and get new ones that support you?
It's a very, very good question. And I seek inspiration, and I look at others, and I invest in myself, if you want to put it like that. I go to courses, I take courses. The best thing I did, which was probably one of the things that kicked off everything a little bit, is when I went to a writer's course in Malaga. And it was, I can't remember, it was maybe five days or something like that, where I got to see other people who were from other industries, not only from the financial services industry that I myself was from at the time. And I got to see that there were people there who were maybe like 30, and the oldest was like shortly before retirement. So we had all these spectras, and we all had the same fears and thoughts. And just by seeing other people, that other people have exactly the same challenges that I have, is so might seem a little bit strange, but it's so helpful, because you realize that I'm not the only one. And then, you and I, we invested in taking this course. We also get to see a lot of other people who have the same struggles. And some of them are really successful, and some of them are less successful. And that you learn from everything, and you see everything, and be inspired by those who are successful and learn from them, but also be inspired from those who are less successful and learn from them. And I took the next step. So I actually invested even more in myself and more in because for me, to build my confidence, I need to educate myself. I need to take courses. So I joined like a business mentoring program after that, to be able to kind of hang out with these people that I want to become, that I strive for, who I want to be. But even, when I started my entrepreneurial journey in August, September 2019, I didn't even have a profile picture on LinkedIn. My Instagram account was like very, very private. I had two pictures there, one of my kids and one of when I had crashed our car. That was it. So I was like, oh my God, if I want to do this, I need to become a bit more, open. I need to become a public person. I need to post. But I was like, I had never posted like on social media. That was really scary to me. And at work, I had been like really open and very direct and told people my opinion. But to do that on social media, that is a completely different thing to me. So I was like, okay, so which is less scary? Well, I thought Instagram was less scary. So I took an Instagram course. So that is kind of like how I develop myself. I take courses, I educate myself. And then from there, I take the next step and the next step. And what I do now, I still am in these kind of, because most of these courses have Facebook groups. So I am there in these Facebook groups, and I interact with those people who are where I was 2 years ago, to help them on their way to be able to take the next step and the next step and the next step. So that is a little bit, so that is probably how I have changed. So go back to your question, how I have changed. I have changed in the sense that I invest in myself, that I take time for myself, because I become a better wife, a happier mom, and a better entrepreneur when I do that. So I take breaks. I do kind of like sports. I love to walk. So I walk every day. And yesterday, for example, I took a day off to go with my son to the movies, because I can do that now. I couldn't do that before, right? I can do that. But I think like hour-wise, I probably work more than I did before. But I do this because it's so fun. It gives me so much energy, and that's the whole energy level is different compared to what it was before.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any limiting beliefs? Were you aware of them, and how did you let them go?
Yes, I definitely had that. The word limiting beliefs, I think we use that word, but I think people we don't tend to think that way. But my limiting belief was I don't have a story. So when I had quit my job, I had a coach at the time, and I was like, oh, I want to do a podcast, and I want to hold public speeches, and and I want to write a book, and blah, and there were all these kind of like ideas that popped up. But the thing that held me back at the time was, but I don't have a story. And she was not the perfect coach for me, but because she then told me what she thought I should do, which was definitely not what I wanted to do. So I was like, I didn't really listen to myself saying that I don't have a story. I just continued. And I was like, and one of the fears I also had was like, who would want to listen to me? Who would want to hear what I have to say if I post something on LinkedIn, for example? Because LinkedIn was very scary too. And it's not so long ago that I actually took the step to start being more active, like posting things on LinkedIn, because there I also had my old network of my old people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also need to, okay, so what are they going to say now? Oh, now she's one of those coaches, who starts posting. But I've gotten so much positive feedback that people have reached out to me, like in the private messages. And that kind of like gives you, I talk a lot about confidence, and I talk a lot about courage. And we become a little bit more braver for like every day that we try out new things. But we need to stretch. We need to like dip our toe outside of the comfort zone, because otherwise we will just stay in the same zone. And when I was in the corporate environment, and if you would have said to me, hey, Josefine, you are in your comfort zone, I would have said, no, you have no clue. But I was, because that was a very known area to me. And I was within this network that I had, within this bubble. But I was also thinking, okay, so I've been quite successful in this bubble, in this industry, doing something that I'm not really passionate about. Imagine how successful I can be when I do something that I really love doing. So that was kind of like, yes, there were fears that held me back, but I think my belief in myself and in other things kind of like pushed me forward.
Wow, I can feel that. The belief and yeah, I still think that you have been very courageous and to really just take that step. But I think the push was so strong. You just had to do it, or you need to do it, and still you need all be brave enough to do it. And for that, I can only congratulate you. Yeah, so that's very, very nice. And I was just wondering, because you said you always wanted to write this book. Yeah, do you write this book now? Are you working on it?
Yes, I did. So so my dream was to write a novel, and which I did. So I have written this novel. So I have put down 100,000 words. That's 300 plus pages. I have, and then you need to go through it, and you need to hand it in to an editor, etc., etc. So I am currently in the process of editing it for the last time, and I've written in my mother tongue. So I've written in Swedish, and there it's like you send it to different publishers and see if someone picks it up. That's where I am currently, to send it out to publishers. I don't know if it's ever going to be, published. I don't think, because it's a lot of work to self-publish a novel. If no one kind of likes it and no one picks it up, then I need to see what I do afterwards. But yes, I have written it. It's a story with a beginning and a middle and an ending. And so we'll see. It's actually a thriller.
Wow.
Who would have known?
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. So please drop me a line once it's published. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna get a copy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wow. So I really wish you lots of success with your book, and I think it must be then really a very touching moment when you have your dream come true. Yeah. And I've heard you saying or asking these questions. Yeah, have you ever wondered what your life would have been if you followed your dreams? And I think it's such a powerful question. And we all should ask that every once in a while. And as you said, not only be true to yourself, but also honest to yourself. And sometimes we are all in this hamster wheel. And we just keep going and say, in half a year, but time just flies by, and it's your time, and it's also your life. Yeah. And that's what I also always wanted to give my kids. Yeah, it's your life. Yeah, you need to enjoy it, and you need to live it. Yeah, with all consequences also. Yeah. And I just wanted to jump back because that really interests me. Right at the beginning, you said you were working as an accountant in Sweden, and you got paid less for the same job. Yeah, and
not the same job. I was the only woman, but yeah. But I was paid less. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were paid less. But for me, this is such an important topic because this money gap, I think it's always exists, and that's why I think it's so important that women step up for it, and it's very difficult. I had some same issues some times ago, and I think it's also brings it back to your question, that women are also really take the time to figure out what are their dreams, because most of the time you're so occupied with your family and everything around you. So do you have any tips, especially to women, to really step out and take their time and follow their dreams?
First of all, not everyone needs to do as I did, to take the scary leap into the cold water, because for me it was as if I didn't really have a choice, that if I don't do this now, I will become seriously ill. So I would suggest start small, because even the small steps takes us there eventually. But if you don't know what brings you joy, if you don't know what it is that you want to do, there is and I do this also with my clients, and I do this in the workshops that I hold. I do kind of like a vision exercise where you kind of like, for a couple of minutes, you think about, where do I see myself in 10 years time? And you see yourself there as if you would be there now. It kind of like you sense the feelings, you can even smell how it smells and stuff like that. It sounds a little bit woohoo when I tell this, but it's actually really, really, really powerful. But don't let that stop you, because things will change on your path, but you will have this vision. So this is how I want to feel when in 10 years time, when I'm here in 2031, this is how I want to feel. And then you start adjusting your path towards it. But the path will not be straight, and the path will be like really bumpy, and there will be like steps that will take you backwards, etc. But if you don't know where you want to go, if you don't know where you're heading, you will stay where you are currently. And that is the question. Do you want to be where you are today? Do you want to be where you are today? If you don't start today, you will be where you are in 1 year's time, in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time. Maybe not in the exact same position. Maybe you will change jobs, but will you be happier? So that is also kind of like, look at where you want to be in 10 years time, and then you start working towards it. And we set up, like, I'm a previous project and program manager, so I talk a lot about milestones and actions and a project plan, and we need that a little bit. And the fantastic list that I mentioned, that is kind of like a part of that vision, because that are things that I would like to experience. And you can set time on those too, that I want to have my Swedish summer house in 3 years time. I want to sing in a choir. Oh, that wasn't so hard, so I'll do that now, you know. So they're like, put times on these things by when you would like to experience them, and start small. Because when you reflect, because that is also really, really important. And I have this Facebook group where I encourage my people to actually every Friday to celebrate successes. It's very difficult because people are like, oh no, I can't say that. What if they don't think that that was such a huge thing? That doesn't matter. If it was like a cool thing for you, I once posted about that I had beaten my youngest son in table tennis every day that week, because that was a huge success for me, because at the end of the summer he will beat me, right? So and you know, it was also that I played table tennis with my youngest son. It's not so much about the, you know, the contest as such, but celebrate those small successes too, and not just, you know, put your head down and run in the direction and don't look back, because we need to take breaks and we need to reflect and we need to adjust. But you need to start taking that first step, and don't be afraid to start it, because you can always adjust afterwards. It's like a big ship, you know. If the big ship is in the harbor and it just stays there, you can't kind of like put it in any direction. But if you have the ship like going somewhere in a very slow speed, you can still direct it in a different direction. So that is kind of like, think of yourself as a big ship and start moving.
Very powerful picture.
Yeah.
You know, if I see you right now, I can feel all your energy and your enthusiasm and your joy. So I would like to ask you, what's energy for you?
And I think that is exactly what you said. It's joy, and it's like thinking about, I don't even need to do the things, but I just need to think about where I want to go, and that gives me energy. And of course I have low days when I'm like a little bit, I don't really know, I don't really want to do this. I don't have those days any longer where I don't want to go and get out of bed, but, and it doesn't matter for me if it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. But it's like, if you have a low day, you need to be kind to yourself and take a break, go for a walk. One day when I had one of those low days, I took a whole day and just edited on my book, and I could do that, right? Because I work for myself. But take a break, because that's what you need to do, and to be able to kind of fill up that energy again.
Oh, so that answered already my second question, which I always ask is, what gives you energy? And you just answered it in a way.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah, and also being with family and friends. Sorry, what? Yeah. Exactly. Well, that can be quite frustrating too, because if he loses, he's like in a really bad mood. But yeah.
So, but is there anything special that really gives you energy, like a boost?
I think to be able to do what you love to do, that is the biggest energy boost. And when you have that, you don't really need much else, to be honest. You don't need to, because then you have, before my energy level was maybe down here, and now it's up here, and you don't need to have these like energy boosts to come to the same level. And I think that is probably the trick in it all.
I think that's the goal where we're all heading, right? To shift the energy, and if you're on a much more higher level, then, and also if you're doing what you like to do, then of course you have these bumps, but it's much easier to get out of them and be back on your higher level. So, Josefine, if somebody wants to get in touch with you to know about your courses and your programs, I put the links to your LinkedIn and Instagram profile and to your Facebook group, also to your really very interesting homepage. I love it. Yeah. A lot of interesting content on it. And so I put all the links into the notes, in the show notes. And I really thank you for this very pleasant exchange, energizing exchange. I learned a lot. I will definitely work on my fantastic list. Yeah.
Yeah, you should do that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And let me know afterwards what you decide to do, actually, because you need, once you've written it down, you need to take one action and you need to take it directly. And that can be just to sign up for a course, or if you want to buy a piano, if that's what you want to do. Take piano lessons. Yeah.
Okay. I will let you know my action. And maybe others are inspired to write this list as well and let you know what were their action. And then we already created some new fantastic energy. Yeah. And we all get one step further. So that's already.
And I'm very open to connections. If it's on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, don't hesitate. Just write me a direct message and I will answer immediately. Because that is one of my superpowers, to actually connect with people.
Oh, yeah, that's why we're connected and that's why we're here.
Exactly.
So let's stay all connected. Thank you so much. Energy on, Josephine.